Eli Gold, I hope you're having an awesome day, sir. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Thank you, Ryan. How you doing today?
Very good, very good. Just trying to stay safe. I hope you and your family are as well.
Yes, we have. We're sequestered on our property here, and not even going out for groceries. We're using one of those telephone apps for the home delivery of groceries, and we're just staying by ourselves here and just trying to stay healthy.
Sure, absolutely. And I've enjoyed the Crimson Classic games that's been aired on the network. I think those have been a lot of fun. And I was hearing the Clemson game originally and listening to some names that maybe I haven't heard in a long time, and kind of reflecting of how this dynasty was built.
It really was something, and I've enjoyed putting those together. They gave me the list of the 12 games. Somebody else picked the games, and they gave me the list of the 12 games, and I wrote openings to the broadcast and some transitional lines and what have you, because they are edited down. There's no pregame, halftime, postgame. It's basically kickoff to final whistle. But it's been a lot of fun listening to who was who, and names that I had said, oh yeah, he made that play, and it's been nice. And of course, they were all significant Alabama victories, so that's always fun to listen to. But yeah, it's been a nice project, and it's been twofold. Number one, the fans are looking for something to listen to. I mean, there's nothing on TV of a live nature. So we wanted to provide our fans and our affiliates something to air. And from a business standpoint, obviously, the network owes a number of our sponsors some commercials, because the remainder of the baseball season wasn't played, the remainder of softball wasn't played, there was no men's postseason. So, from a business standpoint, it's a way to create programming and allow our sponsors to get their commercials. So, there are a lot of reasons to do it, but the response has been wonderful. The fans have really enjoyed it.
Well, and it's been a lot of fun to be able to talk about it. I mean, we've tried to set it up by game and kind of created some discussion around some of the upcoming games, trying to promote that.
Sure.
Talk about the Alabama Athletics Spring Update Show, because I'm really curious about this, as we can get more insight from Coach Saban, Greg Byrne, John Parker Wilson, Rashad Johnson, and Brad Bohannon. Talk about what you guys have put together here this coming Saturday, which would have been in place for A-Day.
Yeah, it would have been the A-Day game, obviously. And again, we wanted to give our stations at least a couple of hours of programming, the entire network, you guys and everybody else included. So it is going to be a talk show. It's going to be myself. The phone lines will be open. Fans can call in and, and just join the conversation. And we decided to, instead of zeroing in strictly on football, we did broaden it out just a bit. We invited a number of coaches. Some were able to join us, some not. But, Brad will be along, Brad Bohannon. Of course, they had, a 16-1 record when the season was suspended after opening up 14-0. So we'll talk about that. Nick Saban will be with us, and we'll, I'm sure, touch on next week's NFL draft and, the new guys he has hired when Scott Cochran left. There's all sorts of things to talk about with the coach. Greg Byrne will be taking phone calls, talking about all that's going on at the university, plus Rashad and John Parker. So, yeah, it's going to be from 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock, and it's going to be an open line deal. We'll just, open the phones, and fans from all across the country who are near our affiliates will be able to join us and steer the conversation.
Eli, when you look at Nick Saban, and I think he adjusts so well, when you look at an implement of a system, you get both coordinators back, which first time since 2015 they've been able to do that. I'm not trying to say that they've got the advantage, but you've got a roster like Alabama, you get both coordinators back. You could say, well, it does favor. How would you like to know you're one of these coaches around the SEC or around college football that you're implementing an entire new system and you don't have that 15 days of practice? That would be a difficult hurdle to overcome.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question. I was reading an interview earlier today about Lane Kiffin, talking about how his mindset is so different going into year one at Ole Miss versus had he been going back for his fourth year down at in Florida. He said, I wouldn't be that concerned if I was going back to Boca Raton for another season. I know the players, we know the system. He said it's a whole different mindset for him going into Oxford with a different staff and trying to implement his way of doing things. So you're right. But, for Alabama, it's going to be whenever the games are played, it's going to be an exciting season because, yes, the Tide has lost some great talent. There's no question. But at the same time, they've got some outstanding players coming back. And, I still maintain that, had the end of the season last year included all the players who were injured, if they were healthy and playing, it would have been probably a totally different finish. And that's not a rap on anybody. I mean, Mac did a great job at quarterback. There's no question. But, if you had, the defensive linemen who had started the season, if you had the linebackers who never really did even start the season, if you had all of that. So, yeah, there's going to be a ton of talent coming back to Tuscaloosa. And, Nick Saban at this time of the year, now he's still working. The guy is in the office every morning. He's at home doing stuff every afternoon. I'm sure he's working on recruiting for the year 2023 or something by now. The man's just remarkable.
Well, and I think he makes adjustments so well.
He does.
I think that may be the one thing that, because we've watched other coaches that would live by their system and go down with their system.
And they're no longer in the conference.
Sure. And you look at Nick Saban, how he's adjusted.
Yeah, and let's face it, the other great thing is what is he, 67, 68 now, whatever, which is not old. But what I'm saying is he's not 38 or 37 or 47. And the way he deals with the student athlete of today, with the young student of today, the way he does, it's amazing to watch how these young kids can identify with an older gentleman who, again, I stress, is not old, but he is certainly many years removed from the kids that he is recruiting. And, look at how he had the guts over the years to change his offenses. The Blake Sims offense, different from the Coker offense, different from the McCarron offense, different from, Tua's offense and all of this. The man is not afraid to adjust. And of course, I guess when you're successful too, Ryan, you can afford yourself the luxury of taking a few chances. But he's always successful because it's not my way or the highway. He does adjust. Look, we don't have Terrence Cody type players on the roster anymore because the game changed. Nothing wrong with Terrence Cody, but Coach Saban realized he couldn't make substitutions the way he wanted to in a hurry up style of game, and the Terrence Cody type of player was replaced by the 4 down type of player. So, the man adjusts, and you're right, that's probably the biggest key to his success.
Eli, when you look at Nick Saban's 13-year, is there a favorite moment that you look back, because we were doing this a couple of days ago, is there a favorite moment that maybe stands above the rest for you?
Oh, boy, that's a great question, but I'd have to think. I mean, obviously the biggest moment is him showing up in Tuscaloosa.
Sure.
If not for that and not for Mal pursuing him, nothing would have happened. But I don't know if there's a favorite moment. Just watching him succeed and the smile on his face. But to say that there's one moment, it could have well been him running on the field after a big unexpected victory, like after the win against Georgia in overtime, the way it came out. But I don't know. I guess I look at things a little differently, but I don't know if there's one moment that stands out other than, having the guts to do what he is always I said to Phil Savage, sitting in the radio booth before the second half of that Alabama-Georgia game, the national title game, and I said to Phil, you think he's going to have the guts? And I didn't use the word guts, but I will on your show. I said, do you think he's going to have the guts to put Tua in? And Phil, of course, gave me the great answer. He said he's going to have the guts to do whatever it's going to take to win the ball game. So maybe that kind of decision might have been one of the biggest things. I don't know of how many coaches would have done that, but Nick Saban did, and obviously it paid off.
Well, you look at the instant success. We spent some time yesterday reflecting on Coach Malmore's book, and I think it's an awesome book.
Great book, huh?
It's great. I mean, Steve Townsend, I think, does a great job of, putting all that content into a written document. And, we were talking about Rich Rodriguez because it was a big story that Chris Lowe had written on Rich Rodriguez. And
yes, I read that.
Did. What a great story that was. And we had Chris Lowe on to talk about it. It was fun to be able to reflect. And, we looked at, where Alabama was then and then where they are today. And, we kind of felt guilty a little bit because, we've been complaining about 11-2 and this 2-year drought that we feel like we were walking in the Mojave Desert without any water. And then we reflected back on those years, and you kind of have a sense of appreciation throughout Tuscaloosa yesterday.
I was talking to a guy, and this probably goes back a month ago now. He was here doing some work on the gutters at our house. We had a little problem with with the gutter system. And anyway, his boss, he was the worker bee, his boss is an LSU fan. And I said, hey, the guy's name is Chris, the boss. I said, has Chris ever said, what he really thinks about Nick Saban and Alabama? He says, yeah. He says, he hates Nick Saban and wishes he had him back. It's one of those things. You have to respect what the man has done. So, but yes, the Chris Lowe article was very, very interesting. And, it's this business of college football, college sports in general, never brings up a lack of things to talk about.
Well, and I'll add this, and I doubt we'll ever get Nick Saban to talk about it because he doesn't even think about retirement. But if there is one positive around this coronavirus, there's a lot of negatives, and we could certainly spend 2 days talking about that. But Nick Saban has had at least a little bit of time to spend at home. This might motivate him to get 3 or 4 more years out of him. I mean, he go, no, I don't want that retirement thing. I don't have anything because, we were on a teleconference a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about maybe being a little distracted with some of the things, trying to manage all this. This may give him a little appetizer for retirement. Maybe we can get 3 or 4 more years out of him.
Yeah, I don't know if the man's ever going to retire until he absolutely maybe, can't do it anymore. He has always talked publicly and privately about having been a part of a team since he was single digits in age. And, he is genuinely, I don't know, I don't want to use the word scared, but he is definitely apprehensive about ever being in a situation where he's not part of a team. That's his life. That's what he is. That's how he does things. So I don't anticipate any, barring, God forbid, medical issues, of which there are none, but I don't, anticipate him retiring for a long, long time yet. I really don't. He loves what he does. He is very young, regardless of what the chronological age might say. He is still a very young person at heart, loves what he does. He thrives on this. There are some people who recruit because they have to. Then there's Nick Saban who recruits because he loves to. And it shows, obviously. It shows. So, no, the subject never comes up. I'll tell you, the R word, retirement, is one I never, ever broach to Coach Saban because I love my job too much. But, watching him just thrive in the team setting, I can't imagine him going anywhere.
Eli, let me say thank you not only for Nick Saban, Terry Saban's got some, Greg Burns got some. I've heard your voice on this station and throughout Tuscaloosa. encouraging people to support these local products.
Sure.
And I know a lot of these folks really appreciate you doing that, and we're going to find a way to get sports back, and I think it'll be motivation, and people will be very appreciative of it, and we'll find a way to get through this hurdle. We do appreciate you.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. And, we are in this together. Those businesses that we always pop into when we're, riding down the street, grab a sandwich, do this, do that. I mean, we've got to support them. We've got to support them because can you imagine if they weren't there? I was watching an interview with Bob Baumhauer the other day, or actually reading it on AL.com, talking about how his businesses are off 80 and 90%. I mean, let alone the fact that he's a part of the Bama family. He hosts talk shows and so on. I mean, how do you not support them in any way possible? So I encourage all of your listeners to do that. And Lord willing, we'll all be back gathered together at Bryant-Denny before much longer, and then Coleman Coliseum and all the facilities. And whatever the new normal is, I guarantee you it's going to involve the University of Alabama's athletic programs and the Crimson Tide Sports Network. So we're all praying for a quick resolution to all that we're dealing with now.